My fellow YouTubians, what is going on, y'all? Your dude Sly here, and welcome back to another Sly Nation gaming news video. And in today's vid, we're going to be taking a look at a new game coming out for the holiday season of 2020 called Outriders. We'll go over a couple of articles written about the game, a few screenshots, and what I peeled away from various official videos, as well as some gameplay. Just a quick side note from that gameplay video, which is really where most of my info comes from, it is owned by PC Gamer, and I cannot use it as an example, even as a background video. So definitely check that out, as it really gives you a feel for the game. As always, the links for everything we talk about today are down in the description box. This game was first announced at a Square Enix conference last summer and then fully unveiled at E3, but it didn't really receive all that much attention. However, with PAX East winding down, Outriders had the chance to show off in an event with hardly any huge AAA games making announcements, and so far it's taking off like a storm of bullets. Published by Square Enix and developed by the Poland-based gaming studio People Can Fly, who have helped create and develop popular games such as BULLETSTORM, Fortnite, and Gears of War. Outriders is a third-person RPG shooter set in a world where quote-unquote sci-fi meets savagery. The game can be played solo or with up to 2 other players, and from what we've seen so far, the game shows a ton of promise. The co-op has been called drop-in, drop-out co-op, meaning you can play with up to 2 extra people, and then halfway through, the 2 players can leave, and now you're playing solo without any need to restart the game or even a checkpoint. It looks, sounds, and feels like a mashup of Mass Effect, Gears of War, with splashes of Destiny, although the dev studio promises that this is a completely new IP and it's way different than anything else you played in the past. It has imaginative weapons, massive in scale, brutal adventure with satisfying loot, and flexible character development. This sci-fi game, while new, definitely has a familiar backstory. Earth is in ruins and survivors have set out amongst the stars in giant ships and put into cryosleep. These huge sleeper ships, as they're called, have one purpose: to ferry the survivors of Earth to a new world where humanity can gain a fresh start. The game is set within a planet called Enoch, a paradise of a planet beautiful beyond all imagination, but before all the citizens can wake from cryostasis, they need to make sure it's safe to inhabit, and that's where Outriders come in. Outriders will be available on all platforms, consoles, PC, and even the new generation of consoles, the Xbox Series X and the PS5, so expect exceptional visuals, audio, and load times. The game begins when an unusual energy signal is intercepted on the planet. It's called the Anomaly. It's a mysterious mass of energy, and before the ship lands, the Outriders wish to investigate. According to the game's description, the signal called the Anomaly, Outriders' version of Anther Shaper Storms, it causes things to hit the fan quickly and render their technology pretty much useless. This is when ships start to crash, and that's when all hell starts to break loose. After the encounter, ships start to malfunction and all sorts of things go haywire. During this time, people panic and try to be put back into cryostasis if the part of the ship is still functioning. Your Outrider makes it to cryostasis and wakes up more than 30 years later to a world he or she can no longer recognize. The paradise is now a red-tinged dump. Survivors who woke up during the energy surge 30 years ago are now on a planet fighting for scraps and trying everything they can to survive. However, the planet is not the only thing that's changed. The sleeping Outriders, through years of exposure to the Anomaly's energy, have changed while sleeping and inherited new powers that they are struggling to learn to wield. This is where your character builds, skills, and RPG systems come in. So far, y'all, 2020 has me fairly excited. Now, it did start off pretty crappy, but 2020 seems to be the year for the resurgence of RPGs, something I really couldn't be happier to say. I mean, we have Baldur's Gate 3 coming out, Wolcen's out, Path of Exile rising in popularity every day, Outriders, Cyberpunk 2077, and quite a few more will be releasing this year, and Outriders promises that it's just as much as an RPG as it is a shooter. So far, 3 classes have been revealed. We have the Pyromancer, the Trickster, and the Devastator. According to an article on SquareEnixGames.com, it lists the classes like this, quote, "The Pyromancer, the perfect choice for anyone who thinks they're hot stuff. The yeah, the Pyromancer uses fire and flames to devastate crowds of enemies and control the battlefield. Next up, the Trickster, a fast maneuverable class that uses speed and time manipulation to cut down enemies. It's great for getting in behind foes quickly and delivering powerful precision attacks. And then finally, the Devastator, the one I'm most excited about, a powerful class that makes brute force feel elegant. From gravity manipulation to impenetrable armor, it's all about getting close to your targets so you can deal maximum damage. In Mass Effect terms, think Vanguard. Each class has different strengths and different weaknesses, but crucially, each class heals differently as well. On the same article I mentioned a bit ago, they give a short example, as you can see here. Alright, ladies and gents, next up, let's talk about the feel of the game, the shooting aspect. Being a third-person shooter, it's probably already obvious that cover is going to be a big part of combat, especially early on when your health and skills aren't as built up as you'd like and you rely more on your firearms and distance. Or if you prefer firearms, you can create a build centered around them. From watching the gameplay, you can tell this game pulls inspiration from a lot of other games and genres. It has a Division type of cover system, but with a rolling and running style similar to Gears of War. Powers like Mass Effect Biotics mixed with Destiny supers, and the UI and weapons also pull from a bit of Destiny and Mass Effect as well. In fact, the auto rifle in the very beginning of the game looks pretty similar to the M8 Avenger. The armor that I saw used in early gameplay shares a lot of similarities with tons of other games, but again, armor is armor. There's only so many ways you can dress a dude up. The combat looks pretty fun, and the more I watch gameplay and the setting around Enoch, the more I remember my visions for Anthem, or at least my hopes for Anthem, as this was kind of how I thought Anthem would turn out, except, of course, this game doesn't have the flying part, but either way, if I remember and think back to what I hope Anthem would be, this game kind of shapes up to that image. Now, skills in Outriders are every bit as important as the guns you use, according to the developers from PCF. Each class has class-specific skills that are not only powerful when used by yourself, but even more so when you work as a team and then combine them with other players. Only a handful of examples have been shown off and announced so far, but what is here seems pretty awesome. So far, from what I can tell, you can have 3 skills active at any given time. You can see from the gameplay, there's one on the left bumper, one on the right, and then another one by both bumpers at once, kind of like using your super in Destiny. A few examples we can see in game, the Trickster has the ability to warp behind an enemy, or on the defensive side of things, use it to warp to safety. The Trickster also has a skill in the form of a time-slowing bubble. Any enemy or projectile inside of it will slow to a crawl. And the Pyromancer can blast out a wall of searing flame. As for the Devastator, you can see a ground pound maneuver and the ability to clad your character in rock armor for bonus damage reduction. And so far, these are just a small sample of things to come. Many more skills will be available. As for the RPG and character building element of the game, skills aren't the only thing you have. Character mods are also part of the game, and unlike skills that slowly upgrade over time, character mods are seen as fast-earned additions. As you can see here in the picture, the upgrade path works much like other RPGs. As you level up in Outriders, you earn a thing called class points. These points are used to modify your character. You can use these points to grow one specific skill and make it as powerful as possible and master it, or you can use those points to unlock every skill available and kind of be like a jack of all trades, or use your points to increase a buff that makes you more effective with the specific firearms, or use your points strictly for firearms in general. Over the entire leveling system, People Can Fly devs state that Outriders has enormous flexibility and a lot of different playstyles. Rogues, vanguards, support, so much more. They say that no two characters will feel the same even if they're the same class. Then again, of course, this is what the development company tells us and not from any kind of experience. So we're going to have to wait and see on that one. But I have to say, guys, so far I'm pretty intrigued. Many of today's shooter-like RPGs border on the games as a service and MMO genre rather than a true single-player RPG shooter. Most of these single-player RPGs consist of melee combat rather than using firearms. So here's hoping we get the best of both worlds. But from what I've seen so far, guys, it looks to be a real smooth and fun experience. Alright, ladies and gents, next up, let's move on to enemies. The story within Outriders is so far, from what little I know, pretty epic. Even the small amount of cutscenes that I've watched so far are pretty awesome. Around Enoch, the anomaly has wreaked havoc on humanity, destroying technology, cities, homes, landscapes, and the people themselves. However, not all are destroyed. Some humans die instantly, and other humans that come into contact with this anomalous energy are changed forever, such as our main characters. The enemies with powers from the anomaly, the ones who didn't die at least, are called the Altered. Most have been completely changed physically by the energy, and they barely resemble the human form, unlike our characters, who look completely normal, yet still retain powers. These Altered think themselves gods, above humanity. The next step in evolution, and if you watch the videos, you get a glimpse of an even more type of powerful Altered, but details are slim, as is the name. There are plenty of bad guys to shoot in the form of rebels who broke off from the main settlement, and of course, there are a ton of open world monsters. Small ones the size of dogs and large cats, all the way up to a War of Worlds type of monster. Gigantic walking skyscrapers, which could be, some form of a dungeon boss, although that is complete speculation on my part. Now, so far, the only thing I did not see was any kind of vehicle combat, but we are just breaking the surface of this game, and I'm sure there's so much we don't know yet. Also, I'm kind of curious if there are double jump capabilities later on in the game as a kind of a skill set, and if this is set within a true open world or more of a linear story type of environment. Perhaps maybe an open world kind of like Mass Effect Andromeda, not a full open world, but rather segmented large areas cut off from each other. Alright, ladies and gents, moving on to the end of the video here, let's talk about the loot side of things. Now, this game does fall in between RPG and looter shooter categories, as chests will be a part of the loot system. There are also NPCs as well as vendors to shop in. Some new information just recently dropped from PAX East and confirmed that there will indeed be multiple hubs around the new planet Enoch. We can see this city here at the foot of a crashed sleeper ship, so it's a possibility this is one of the cities where NPCs and vendors reside. But according to PC Gamer, there are multiple hubs to visit, and within each are people you can talk to gain quests, buy weapons, level up, etc. The example is also fairly large in size, so I imagine there's quite a bit to do within them. On the plus side of things, so far, no microtransactions have been revealed, and the devs did state that Outriders is a start-to-finish experience all contained within one price. No loot boxes, no pay to win. However, that does not mean skins or ornaments for your characters, but that has yet to be announced if it happens at all. Judging by their stance, it kinda seems unlikely, but they are the studio who helped create Fortnite and Gears of War, which is full of stuff to buy. And the last thing to take note of, so far no PvP has been announced and not even hinted at, so we're going to have to wait for another word on that as well. If you wish to check out the videos available so far, check the links down below in the description box. There are a few videos to check out and a lot of news coming out of PAX East. So far, guys, Outriders definitely has me intrigued. People Can Fly started off as a small studio with only 30 employees, but ended up growing to over 230 just to help create this game. It's the largest and most ambitious project the studio has ever created. I'm also pretty excited about its next-gen capabilities. Even though console games make their way onto PC eventually, they are never specifically designed for PC. Sure, they can increase some of the textures, lighting, filtering, draw distance, and stuff like that, but the base game was always meant and designed with console limitations in mind. So playable areas, open world, hubs, all of that is created with consoles in mind. With the next-gen Xbox and PS5 sporting hardware more powerful than most gamers' PCs, we're going to get to see a game take a full advantage of all the bells and whistles, something I'm pretty freaking excited about, and not just for this game, but many others as well. But yeah, that is about it, y'all. Don't know about you, but this game seems to be right up my alley. An RPG looter shooter with deep focus on narrative, character builds, and a massive sci-fi open world, all centered around a Mass Effect-like biotic superpowers, but with a Gears of War Division cover shooter? Hell yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'll definitely be watching this closely, and perhaps I might even start covering it weekly if the flow of news supports it. So keep those eyes open, as even a little bit of story I've watched so far already has me taking the bait. But for now, I am out of here, y'all. Thank you all so much for watching and for supporting Sly Nation. If you're new to my channel, then welcome, my friend. I hope you enjoyed it, and feel free to check me out over on Twitter or Facebook at Sly Nation Gaming on the FB. SlyNation67@gmail.com if you need to get in touch with me. Spank the thumbs up or down if you liked, loved, or hated the video, and be sure to subscribe for all sorts of gaming videos. Cyberpunk 2077, Destiny 2, Mass Effect or BioWare games, general gaming news videos, and so much more. Keep those eyes open for more Sly Nation content coming out here soon, but until then, this is your dude Sly, and I'll catch you all in the next one.